Welcome to Successful Parenting, where we, Jackie Rue and Robin Choquette, share practical skills for families to build resilience and healthy connections. As practicing professionals and parents ourselves, we hope this podcast is a resource for parents to grow, reflect, and learn more about themselves and their children. Our approach is simple, tangible, and most importantly, we lead with compassion for the integrity of the families we serve. This podcast should not be taken as medical advice and is intended for informational purposes only. We love our work, and we can't wait to watch families gain confidence and open themselves up to new ways of successful parenting.
Good morning, Robin.
Good morning, Jackie.
I am super excited about our guest this morning. I have been looking into her new book, and I think this is such a great topic, not only for this time of year, but really throughout the year.
Yes.
Did you get a chance to look at it?
Yes, I did. It is pretty exciting. I think it's something that's really needed, right?
Yes. And our guest today is Joy Gallivan, and her new book, which has been selling like crazy, Mystery Feelings, A Guide to Feelings Identification. We're going to talk a little bit about the book today and Joy's work. But, one of the things that's really drawn me to this topic is getting so many calls from families in schools with concerns about children's ability to identify feelings, recognize feelings, and express feelings. And we've seen a lot of conversations around children really struggling with doing things that are challenging for them, doing things possibly that are non-preferred, which we're going to talk about in a later episode. I'm excited to have this conversation today because of all the calls from families we've been getting.
Yes.
Yeah. And Joy Gallivan, she has been a licensed clinical social worker, and she's worked in schools for a long time. I don't want to put a number on it. She currently works with preschool age children and really working on developing social emotional curriculum. She's written this awesome book, uses a lot of play and plan interactions. And so I think this topic is going to be one that is really relevant to all of our families, whether the children are younger, teenagers, or even, young adults. I know some of things Joy talks about can apply to our adult children as well.
Absolutely. Welcome, Joy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, you are so welcome. Thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation with Jackie and I. So, you've had this wealth of experience working with children of all ages. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and what led you to this desire? To me, it sounds like a passion to work with children.
Yes, it really is. And I don't mind saying that number out there. I've been doing this for 22 years. So I'm proud of that. I like that. It's something, like you said, it's been a passion. And I worked for 10 years with just elementary aged kids, K through 5. And then I switched to the middle school for 4 years. And I've been in my current position for 7 years now, which is working with the preschool and early childhood program. So overall, I've worked with kids ages 3 to 15. Ever since I was a little girl, I just always knew I wanted to work with kids in some capacity. I've always been fascinated with child development. It's something that I've been interested in, like I said, even when I was a child myself. So this is I found my path. For sure.
That is awesome. And, I know we met at the Illinois School Social Work Conference. God, was that a couple months ago?
Mm-hmm.
And I know you had a lot of schools talking to you about using this book and using the curriculum. And one of the things we've noticed lately, and we do so much work with schools, is, many children are having a hard time regulating big emotions. They're having huge reactions. And I don't know if you're seeing this too, Joy and Robin, but small things that we would have thought, and we call them non-preferred activities or doing things that are challenging, can create escalations from like 0 to 10. It can be anywhere from running, throwing, hitting, really just having huge reactions. And so we're also noticing, some of the younger children having a hard time with routine and tech and navigating how to even recognize what they're feeling. Are you seeing this too?
Oh gosh, yeah. Difficulty regulating those emotions was something that I've seen and had a concern for a while. But since the COVID lockdown, it really seems to be magnified. Kids come to school with this expectation that, adults have this expectation that they shouldn't know math and reading and science. Of course, we're going to teach them that. But we need to have those same expectations for social emotional development. Every child comes from a different home with different expectations, different cultures, different socioeconomic backgrounds. So how can we expect them to walk into school and handle life and all the emotions that come with it, especially after being in quarantine? So teaching them these skills should really be part of the curriculum, part of school, just as important, just as much weight as
Yeah.
that math and reading.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So, I was really impressed with your book and it's already won some awards. Can you tell us about it and what led you to write this book?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. I'm really proud of it. It's my labor of love. So, how it came about is this: when I was actually working in the middle school, it was a weird time. Technology and social media were on the rise right at that time during those years. And it was so eye opening to be working with that specific age at that particular time.
Mhm.
I saw firsthand that negative effect it was having on the social emotional development of these kiddos. And not to get too analytical, it's kind of how my brain goes, but that prefrontal cortex, that's that part of the brain that's responsible for executive functioning and self-awareness and emotional regulation, all that stuff. It's not fully developed until we're 25 years old, right? That's why middle
Right.
schoolers a lot of times really struggle. So watching kids who don't developmentally even have that secure sense of self,
Mhm.
whose brains are still developing, now have access to the internet and social media. The impact it was having was just so drastic and dramatic and happening right before my eyes. There were situations where in the past would have elicited like a big reaction, like a fight in the hallway, that now we're having no reaction or muted reactions. And their sense of right and wrong was skewed. And this was to no fault of their own. They were just kind of a product of a changing world, really. So it was at this time, kind of decided to make a career change. I actually almost quit social work because I was coming home feeling so defeated each
Oh,
day.
wow. You were thinking, contemplating, talking with your loved ones that this may not be the career path for you?
Yes, my husband and I spent many weeks. I mean, I was coming home. You could physically see it. It was affecting me as a mom and as a wife. And I just felt like I couldn't. I mean, I sat in hospitals holding kids' hands who attempted suicide. I just felt like I was doing so much and I was just hitting these walls. And it was an internal struggle because I didn't want to quit on them, but I just felt like
Yeah.
I couldn't help. Just the changing world was scary to watch what these kids were going through. And so instead of quitting, which was a good option at that point, I was
Right.
a good chance I was going to do it. I decided to address it in a different way. And I kind of did a 360 and I decided to switch gears and start working with the younger students. And I wanted to address this deficit I was seeing in a different way by helping to develop foundational skills with younger kids that they would benefit from as they got older. So, as I stated earlier, I've been, solely working with preschool age kiddos now for 7 years. I love it. They're my babies. It's just, I mean, who gets to start their day with hugs and it's just the best. And during this time, I've been making and tweaking lessons to best engage the students and, using their feedback to change it. And my book, Mystery Feelings, is actually one of those lessons that I've been teaching. And I just decided to have it published. And
Oh, so this was a curriculum that you took that you had been using. So you've got real data, you've got real experience, and you put it into a book.
I've been teaching this one for many years. And like I said, when I noticed something wasn't really clicking, I would take that out and tweak it and do something different. And teaching feelings is really abstract. It's hard. I thought, I need to make a lesson that kids who are on the spectrum will understand. But then I realized all the kids need this
Mhm.
taught this way. It's so abstract. And so I make it concrete and I say, look at the physical cues, look at their eyebrows, look at their shoulders, look at their body. And so to be able to give them this concrete understanding of this abstract concept has been great. And to see it successful year after year just inspired me. Because I'm like, if I publish this, it's just going to help that many more people.
Well, and that's so interesting too. And what I find is, and the reality is, and people often ask me, do you feel like technology is what's really hindering our children? But the reality is, it's not so much that. And the reality is, schools are bringing in more and more, from kindergarten on up, kids are having iPads and they're learning, some of the social cues through the apps, whether it's like a little animal dancing around or whatnot. But more and more children are on tech. And so one of the things I talk to parents about, it's not should they have tech or not, it's are we incorporating those other relationships and interactions that really promote what we're talking about today. One of the things I hear from the children that I work with is I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm bored.
Mhm.
And they talk about that is a big trigger for them. What are you feeling? Bored, bored. And I do think there's some linkage between the technology and having to be so like ramped up and tied in to when they're not on it, starting to feel bored, also uncomfortable. But it's interesting. And I really love your curriculum. The other, I think you and I had talked previously, the other term that I'm hearing a lot is a non-preferred activity. And a lot of school districts are starting to even incorporate this into 504 and IEPs. and really it describing situations that are challenging or situations that children may not want to do. And what we're seeing is the tolerance to do these activities is decreasing. So when children are faced with these non-preferred activities, that's when we're seeing these big reactions. And also, we talk a lot about confidence. Do our children feel confident that they can do the activity and do it well? So I'm not sure if you're seeing that too, that a lack of confidence can also tie into a child's big reaction.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is a great topic, actually. My colleagues and I were just, actually, we were just talking about this recently, but yesterday it came up again, that preferred versus non-preferred. And let's be honest, no one wants to do non-preferred things. If you give me a choice to sit and read a book or do laundry, I'm going to pick a book. Nobody's got to choose like, I would like to do laundry today. I mean, it's.
I don't know, Joy. That might be a tough call between those two choices for me.
Oh, I could sit and read books all day. That would be the best.
I might pick the laundry.
But kids sometimes are identified as having difficulties or, quote, issues for a displeasure for non-preferred tasks. And so, first of all, when I write IEP goals, I've thrown that verbiage out. And I start to use terms like adult chosen versus child chosen, and instead of that preferred, unpreferred. And it might just be a semantic issue, but I think it provides a level of clarity. I'm not asking a child to laundry versus a book per se, but it's like my game versus your game. Something still fun, but like not their choice. So I think that provides a level of clarity. But the other point you brought up is that often the task is referred to as non-preferred elicits a negative reaction because it's difficult, it's hard. And recognizing this refusal or frustration as a form of communication is so important. It's very difficult to put into words big feelings like that. When working with my students, I use these as teachable moments. For example, if I see a student struggling as, they're having an outburst or whatever, I'll say, hey, I can see you're feeling frustrated. I'm sorry you feel that way. What's going on? Can we work on this? How can we make it better? And it seems like such a simple interaction, but just in that little dialogue I gave, I validated their feelings, right? Wow, I'm sorry you're feeling this way. I gave the student the verbiage to how they're feeling. Wow, I see you're feeling frustrated. I see you're feeling sad, because then they could link like this feeling means this word, right?
Right.
I modeled a calm reaction. I let them know the next step is to problem solve as opposed to just staying in this heightened state. And like, it's okay to not know the answer. Let's work on it together. And the goal is to empower them to try to come up with a solution in the future that they can implement themselves. I mean, will they carry it over to other problems immediately? No, probably not. But just like so many other things, it's an ongoing process. But I have to say, it doesn't take me long before I start hearing my students using these tools. Just this week, I heard quite a few kids. And one of the kids said, Mrs. Gallivan, I'm feeling frustrated. So to hear them be able to use that word, like, they're getting it. They're learning. It's great.
Well, and I think it's so important for us to work with parents on this as well. But it sounds like all the tips you just shared really are like the key ingredients to fostering an environment, whether in school or home, that teaches children to recognize and manage feelings, especially when faced with non-preferred activities, right? Or activities that may involve frustrations. You said some key pointers just in terms of helping children recognize kind of tying in their body's reaction, the physical, to what they're feeling. Because so often children will feel, maybe they're feeling their stomach ache, right? We have a lot of littles that frequently are going to the bathroom, or, whether it's a teenager, having headaches or migraines or just feeling woozy. But a lot of times that is a sign of what they're feeling. And so I love how your book and your curriculum helps children of all ages identify what the reaction is, tying it to their feeling and physical reaction. So I think that's great.
Yeah.
And letting them talk about it. My stomach feels this. Wow, I'm so sorry about that. Because then giving them that minute to acknowledge it. Like, my stomach feels this way. So then maybe next time, like, hey, my stomach's feeling this way again. Let's just start kind of creating those synapses that this feeling creates this response.
Yeah, those connections, right? Head and heart and body is so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Joy, we have educators that listen to this podcast. We have parents, we have grandparents, aunts and uncles, people from all different roles in children's life. Can you tell us, how can parents and educators use your book with their children? Can you give us a little bit about that?
Yes. And I actually wanted this to be something that everybody could take away. So in the back of the book, Mystery Feelings, I actually included a page that's titled Guide for Grown-Ups, because I want everyone to be able to have this. And I offer tips on how to elaborate on the concepts taught in the book. So for example, once the kids identify the mystery feeling, grown-ups can ask, when do you feel this way? Or what could you do if you saw one of your friends feeling this way? And just a way to expand that conversation, to build on that lesson. And also, these concepts can also be transferred to other parts of their day. When reading books or watching TV shows or movies, grown-ups can pause and say, hey, how do you think they're feeling? And when you're at Target and you see a kid crying, wow, that child looks like they're feeling really sad. I wonder what happened. And this just helps carry those skills over to a variety of settings. Children benefit not only being able to identify feelings, but to understand that having feelings are okay, that everyone feels all the feels, that these are building blocks to create meaningful relationships and develop empathy for others. And it happens everywhere and it's okay. And to be able to stop and identify it as a grown-up, it kind of creates that natural conversation with kids.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. And I think, you've already gotten such great feedback too. Do you have any other suggestions for parents raising children today?
Oh, absolutely. One of the simplest things I could testify, because I do this myself, is starting a routine with kids that emphasizes that it's okay to just talk about your feelings. My kids now are 12 and 13 years old. And when they were in preschool, we started at dinner time, hey, what were your highs and lows today? And it's a time where they reflect on their day, talk about the good and the bad, that there's no negative judgment. And through the years, this has really opened up a dialogue to discuss problems they were having that we might not have known about. It also eliminates that age-old issue of parents saying, how was your day? And kids saying, fine, or what did you do today? Nothing, And when I teach the lesson in mystery feelings in classes. So if I work on 1 week, I'll do happy, 1 week, I'll do sad, 1 week, I'll do angry. And I ask the kids, give me some examples, how you felt this way. It's always very interesting because I'll say to the kids, give me an example of something that makes you happy. And their hands are up when I get a hug from my mom. And what makes you mad? Oh, I'm mad when my sister takes my toy. But when I ask, tell me something that makes you feel sad, crickets. They freeze up. It's uncomfortable to feel. It's uncomfortable to talk about. Kids see things so black and white, good and bad, happy and sad, right? They will openly say, like, I don't feel sad, I'm happy. And so I think grown-ups should teach that it's okay to feel all the feels, that we all feel different things at different times, even grown-ups. So I'll give the example. I'll say, oh, I felt really sad when my dog was sick and I had to go to the dog hospital I cried. And the look of shock on their faces of, wait, you cried and it was okay and you're talking about this, and just giving them that pass of, you could talk about these feelings. It's okay. And slowly you'll see the hands starting to go up, telling me times that they felt sad. And, we can't predict everything kids are going to face as they grow up, but having a solid, healthy, emotional foundation will be great to start handling those bigger feelings later.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it, Joy. So can you tell our listeners where can they purchase your book?
Absolutely. It's available online through Target, Walmart, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any of those major retailers. So it's pretty exciting.
Perfect. Well, Jackie, unless you have something else, I think we are to our 3 questions today.
Yes, I love this conversation. I could talk on this all day, but I think we need to wrap it up. But Joy, thank you so much. This is so awesome.
Yes.
Oh, I appreciate you guys having me. This is something I could talk about all day. Like I said, I'm so passionate about this. And I'm fortunately in a position where I get to not only write the book, but see it happening in the classroom. So yeah, having it right before my eyes and seeing the results of it, it's great. I'm really proud of it.
Good, good, good. You are doing good things. Okay, so here are 3 questions that we ask every guest. You may choose to answer 1, you may choose to answer 2, or you can answer all 3. It's really up to you.
Oh, I'll do all 3.
Oh, okay. Well, let me give you the questions and then we can get started. Number 1, what did you do as a child or teenager that would drive your parents crazy? Number 2, what is the biggest difference between children and teenagers today and when you grew up? And number 3, what does successful parenting mean to you? Take it away, Joy. It is all yours.
All right. So as a child or teenager, something I did that would drive my parents crazy, probably the typical sibling arguing that my brother and sister, myself would do. My mom would always say, someday you guys will actually be close, have a good relationship. And we thought, oh, you're crazy. And of course, we're very close now. But that typical, we were all 3 years apart. So that typical battle that we would have. And we're very close now. So I'm sure that drove them crazy. The biggest difference between children and teenagers today versus when I grew up, hands down technology. The good and the bad, actually. The bad, right? We didn't have that instant gratification the kids do now. They don't even have that capacity to wait, where we would have to wait through commercials or wait a week to see what happened on our favorite show, right?
Yes.
That's huge. But also the good. There's so many more resources available to people now. I mean, long gone are the days of having to look stuff up in the encyclopedias at the library and bring in a big old pocket full of coins to be able to make your copies so you could go home and do your research, or dare I say microfiche. I don't know if anyone even knows what that is when I say
Yes, I do.
It's horrible.
Yes.
So there's just so much information at your fingertips. So that's the biggest difference. Like I said, good and bad.
Right.
And successful parenting. This one, it's so important to me. In our house, we refer to it as the trifecta. That my kids have to be involved in something, whether it's sports, clubs, whatever. You have to have some sort of interest that you have to be focusing on. Got to give your best effort in academics, but also being kind. And each thing has the same amount of weight in their importance. You need to have that extracurricular part of life. It shouldn't all be academics or vice versa. But if you are in sports and you're doing great and you're getting straight A's, but you're not kind, it negates everything. And that is something we have taught from a very young age. And it's something that we really are passionate about. And I'm seeing it firsthand with my kids now as they get older. And I'm very proud as a mom to see that it's something that they're carrying over. And also, I think it's important to always keep that open dialogue where kids know that they can come to me and they can come to when things are hard, and that home is a safe space where there's no judgment and just lots of love.
Oh, I love it. I think one of the things I enjoy hearing, Jackie, everyone's meaning behind successful parenting, because it is so individualized and it's really about the family and what is important to them. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like this question so much. I loved yours, Joy. Thank you.
Thank you.
We really appreciate this conversation today. Listeners, head on out and find that book, purchase it. I'm sure you're going to love it and use it as much as we're enjoying it. And I think we are at the end.
Yes.
Bye, Joy, and thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you so much for having me, Jackie and Robin. I really appreciate it. Any chance to talk about this is always, it makes me very proud. So I appreciate it.
Well, I think it's a great resource. And I think lots of listeners are going to run out and buy it today because I think, having these conversations with their children is just so key in their development. So thank you so much. And we are just so excited to have listeners sharing this.
Thank you.
Yes. Bye, Jackie.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. And make sure to subscribe and like us to catch our next episode, where we will take you on a journey to find new ways of successful parenting.